Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get ready for our 24th race of the season. 3 races remain here in the regular season till we determine our 16 drivers that will battle it out in this season's playoffs. And we continue on the chase for the championship. Here today, the 40 drivers in this field will have to navigate the 3 corners of the tricky triangle Pocono Raceway. Last year, when we came to this racetrack, it really came down to fuel strategy in the closing stages of the race, and we saw Carson Gum pick up what was then his first career Duracell Cup Series win. We've seen him go to victory lane 2 more times here this season, but it kind of makes me think that this could be one of those wild card races of someone we haven't really looked at that right now would not be locked into the playoffs. All of a sudden, could get a miracle win and find themselves in a playoff position with only 2 races remaining in the regular season. So we'll have to see if lightning strikes twice as we will get set for today's race. It's going to be a very, very interesting race as well with the fact that we're running the 2019 rules package. So these long straightaways between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 1, going to be a lot of opportunity for drivers to be able to utilize the draft. Hopefully we're going to see a lot of passing here today, and as I mentioned as well, pit strategy will more than likely come into play. Take a look here at our front row. Adam Garcia lines up on the pole position. He's 36th in the point standings coming into this race, still looking for his first win of the season. However, he still mathematically has a shot if he can get a victory to be able to get into the top 30 in points. I think the gap between him and 30th in standings right now stands at roughly around 33 points. So that is still makeable, especially with the fact that drivers can gain as much as 47 points if they win during the course of a race. Alongside of him, Cody Lamas. Lamas right now, I believe, is the 3rd highest driver in the point standings right now without a victory behind Austin LaPlante and Derek Hamill. He is 12th overall in the standings, so there's no doubt about it. If Cody Lamas were able to take a checkered flag here today, he would be locked into a playoff position. And then rolling off from 3rd, if we look at our podium for the start of this race, another driver that is yet to go to victory lane this season, and that is Benny Watson. Watson comes into this race currently in the 24th position in points, and so he would need a little bit of help, possibly, depending on how many spots he could gain if he won today's race, but obviously for Garcia, for Lamas, for Watson, and for a whole host of others back through this field, the goal here today, right now, I believe, is to find victory lane, because if you do not win, you pretty much do not have a shot of making it into the playoffs, because we have had 23 races so far, and we've had a total of 20 different drivers go to victory lane. Let's go down trackside, get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
So as we get ready to go racing here in the Pocono Mountains, draw your attention to the right side of the screen. It will show you the starting lineup for today's Pocono 400. And let's give you what your playoff standings look like coming into today's race. Obviously, 3 two-time winners this season, those being Carson Gum, Benjamin Miles, and Michael Norman. So right now they would be in the number 1 seed, tied for the number 1 seed in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We should mention that Michael Norman coming into this race currently finds himself in the 26th position in points, only 17 points ahead of 30th in the standings, so obviously he needs another good run here today. He finished runner-up here 1 year ago. Then the rest of the drivers that currently are in playoff spots via victories, one-time winners Carter Friesen, our overall points leader, Ryan Acosta, Jordan Lopez, Matt McIntyre, Ryan Brommer, Zach Rogers, Jesse Turner, who took the checkered flag last week at the Glen, now puts himself in a playoff spot, Dylan Young, Trey Wright, Cole Baker, Matt Haas, Levi McIntyre, and Johnny Gardner right now hold the final 16 spots. Big battle we'll be watching today. Johnny Gardner right now in that final 16th spot. He needs to make sure that none of the drivers ahead of him in points go to victory lane that haven't won yet this season, or else they would be in, he would be out. And also, he'll have to keep tabs on the 24 car today, Alexander Rowe, who's finally back up in the top 30 in points. The two of them are separated by 23 points. If Alexander Rowe passes Johnny Gardner in the points, then Rowe could slot into spot 16, and Gardner would be out. We mentioned about Michael Norman down near the cut line. Jose Mills right now still outside the cut line in 31st. He's 10 points out of 30th in the standings. And Kyle Matthews has now dropped outside the top 30 in the standings as well. He is 14 points behind the cut line coming into today's race. But here we go then, getting ready to go green here at Pocono, and the green flag's in the air. We're racing in the Pocono Mountains. Let's roll. Wasting no time going down to turn one, Benny Watson sticks the nose to the left rear quarter panel of Adam Garcia. And he'll try and go to the points. They're 3 wide behind him. That's Trey Wright down on the bottom, Casey Nanico in the middle, Jack Mitchell up top side. Into the hard braking zone of turn 2. And now down towards the turn 3 area. The trickiest part of this racetrack. One of the heavier braking zones of these corners. Not a whole lot of banking. You can see these drivers up above that dark gray groove, running that slightly higher line to maybe try and get a better exit and better straightaway speed down towards the start-finish line. Benny Watson will lead the first lap. Benjamin Miles steps out. Ryan Butcher going to make it 3 wide as they'll go 3 abreast into turn 1 for the top position. Now I should mention, coming into this race, with only 3 races remaining, there are some drivers that come into this race based on their points position and going to victory lane that are confirmed already that they will be in the playoffs. Drivers that those would include are Carson Gum and Benjamin Miles. They're up inside the top 10 in the point standings with 2 wins, so they are confirmed going to be in the playoffs. As you see, one of those drivers out in front here, Benjamin Miles in the race lead. The other drivers coming into this race that are confirmed they will be in the playoffs, having gone to victory lane 1 time this season, include the points leader Carter Friesen, Ryan Acosta, who's 3rd in points, Jordan Lopez 4th in the standings, Matt McIntyre 5th, Ryan Brommer 6th, and Zach Rogers in 9th. The reason being that they are locked in at this point is because not only do they have a win, but they've got enough of a points gap between themselves and 30th in the point standings that they cannot mathematically in the next 3 weeks fall outside the top 30 in the points. So congrats to those drivers already making it into this season's playoff grid. Who will join them? Cole Baker out in front leading this race, our Daytona 500 winner from earlier on this season. He's 17th in the points coming to this one. There's a lot of drivers actually that even if they got a second win here today, or if they at least got a decent run and got themselves up there a little higher in the point standings, that probably would have themselves confirmed in the chase heading into next week's race at Richmond. And those drivers include Jesse Turner, Dylan Young, Trey Wright, Cole Baker, and Matt Haas. Right now, those 5 drivers come into this race 14th through 18th in the standings, as we are 3 wide again. And boy, that looked a little sketchy through that corner as Seth Cole was pushing up almost into Keith Batson. Batson there in the 39. We're going to be heading to the track next week that he got his first and up to this point only Duracell Cup Series win. That was Richmond. As Trey Wright going to try and go for the top position on Cole Baker, and he will take the position, at least for the moment. Opens the door down low. Keith Batson's going to stick his foot in, and Keith Batson's going to take the position. Whoa, car up in the wall. 2 cars in the wall. Ryan Butcher and Austin LaPlante. And we got a wreck. Pole sitter Adam Garcia spins in front of the field. Caution will wave for the first time here today at Pocono. Everybody trying to avoid back there. A couple more hits being taken as Garcia was facing 90 degrees the wrong direction in front of the second half of the field. And that's our first caution of the day out of turn number 3. And a couple of drivers I noticed crossed the line in 10th and 11th that got through the wreck. Kyle Matthews crossed the line in 10th. Alexander Rowe crossed in 11th. Remember, we documented those 2 drivers trying to get themselves back up there in points. Former winners this season that are trying to get playoff spots. As the caution flag is out for the first time today, Keith Batson, the race leader. A lot of people thought Keith Batson should have won the race a couple of weeks ago at Kentucky, but he got drawn to pit lane, summoned to pit lane when he came to pit road before the pace car had picked him up, and suffered a very poor performance as a result. Well, he's out in front leading here today at Pocono. Let's go back and see what happened over in turn 3 for our first caution of the day on lap number 4. This was going into turn 3, and it starts with Austin LaPlante, the 48. Looks like he's going to just drift up the racetrack here. See right there, got a little loose. You can see the rear end coming out from underneath him, slides up. Unfortunately for Ryan Butcher, he was to LaPlante's right rear quarter panel, so he gets put up in the wall, and then LaPlante comes down, makes contact with Adam Garcia in the 12. Garcia then goes down into the right rear quarter panel of Alexander Rowe. It sends him back up into LaPlante, and let's see who got involved in this. Little damage there on the front of Benny Watson's 75. LaPlante got a hit from behind. I think that was from Ryan Butcher again. I think Butcher wasn't exactly too happy with the 48. Now let's see who gets the shot right here. I saw someone hit the 12, and it might have been Chris Dollarton. No, that's actually Jesse Turner, last week's winner, got a piece of it. Dollarton may have gotten a little damage there when the 12 car got sent back up in front of him. And then Friesen, the points leader, going to stop there and wait until the 12 car can get it refired. So Butcher and LaPlante got damaged for getting up into the wall, and then Garcia and LaPlante get together. Butcher runs into the back of LaPlante, and then Jesse Turner and Benny Watson, along with maybe Chris Dollarton, get a little bit of cosmetic damage. But for the most part, with where that happened, in that portion of the racetrack, we're actually very lucky we didn't have a lot more drivers involved with more damage. So that's what brings up the caution for the first time today here at Pocono. Let's go back for the restart. Well, we talked about the fact this is going to be a fuel strategy race, and a number of drivers, I think actually everybody, came down pit road here under this caution. However, pit road was not without incident. You can see back there, restarted in the 6th position, the defending winner of this race, Carson Gum. The whole hood and front nose has been taken off, so he apparently ran into the back of somebody at some point. I don't know if it was under Payson or on pit road. Trey Wright looks like he's got a little bit of a buckle on the hood of his 28 as well, but he will restart the leader as he was able to get out ahead of Keith Batson. Rookie Casey Nanico lines up in 3rd. Cole Baker will restart 4th. Zach Rogers in 5th. Carson Gum, as we mentioned, there in 6th, but I don't know how up to speed that car can possibly be, especially at a track that's very aerodynamically dependent. Seth Cole will be 7th. Benjamin Miles in 8th. Jessica Shelton 9th, and her teammate Kyle Matthews in 10th. 11th is Alexander Rowe. 12th is Matthew Rodriguez. 13th, Benny Watson. 14th, Johnny Gardner. 15th will be Wyatt Quayle. Dylan Young runs 16th. 17th will be Cody Lamas. 18th, William Brock. 19th, Jordan Lopez. And Levi McIntyre in 20th. We'll go a little bit further back here as we still haven't gotten to the start-finish line. Mitchell Collins, 21st. 22nd, Marcus Sachi. Matt McIntyre, 23rd. 24th, Derek Hill. Ryan Brommer in 25th. Rest of the top 30 are Charles Stanford, Jesse Turner, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, and Ryan Butcher. Green flag back in the air here for Trey Wright on lap 9. Keith Batson lost the lead on pit road, wants the lead back on track, but Casey Nanico is going to stick his nose in there 3 wide for the position. Nobody out of the race after the incident that took place there. The timing of that caution, though, really messed up a couple of drivers. Quite a number of them actually slowed and came to pit road much later than everybody else, so they're restarting near the rear of the field. Jack Mitchell, Chris Dollarton, Michael Norman, Sebastian Kukulon, Jose Mills, Ryan Acosta, Carter Friesen, and Matt Haas. So they all start near the rear of the field for this restart, but all 40 cars are still on the lead lap and still running. Some of them, though, might not be running up to speed. I look at Carson Gum as possibly being off the pace. Adam Garcia took a couple of shots we saw, so he might not be completely up to speed. That was close at the line, but they're saying the outside line, and Keith Batson prevailed. He led that lap. Nanico still on the inside line there in the 77. Casey Nanico 35th in the points coming into this one, is looking like his hopes of getting into the playoffs are rather slim. And the last couple of weeks, at least back from the start of the second half of the regular season, maybe to about Bristol, Kentucky, somewhere thereabouts, we had some really good battling for the rookie points lead, but the last couple of weeks, Cody Lamas has left the rest of the rookies in the dust. He comes into this one 8 points ahead of Sebastian Kukulon, 10 points ahead of Derek Hamill, 13 ahead of Marcus Sachi, and we got a big wreck on the front stretch. Zach Rogers, Matthew Rodriguez, and they're still wrecking back there. Shelton's around. Oh, big hit for Seth Cole. Caution will wave again, and turn 3 continues to play havoc here in the first half of this race. And this was a big one. Well, we know Casey Nanico and Cole Baker got through it. It's like White Quail, Cody Lamas, Alexander Rowe got through. Zach Rogers was involved. I think it was he and Matthew Rodriguez that started that one, and we've got a lot of drivers with damage in this one. Carter Friesen, lucky for him that he came into this race knowing he'll be in the playoffs. Adam Garcia involved in another wreck, and Michael Norman. You can see a lot of damage on the front, left, and rear of that machine. Remember, he came into this race 26th in points. Really could not afford a bad run. Ryan Acosta there in the 10 car. He's already locked into the playoffs. So he was able to afford a bad run here today. Third overall in the standings. Matthew Rodriguez, just last week, worked his way back into the top 30 in points and was up at inside the top 10 when that incident occurred. Got some left side damage on Chris Dollarton. Marcus Sachi, I know, got some damage there. Austin LaPlante, second incident he's been in. And Jose Mills. The quest to get back in the top 30 in the points continues to be an issue for him. Dylan Young's got rear end damage on the 2 car. And he could have locked himself in the playoffs with a good run today. Other drivers here, Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford, Jack Mitchell, all with damage. Ryan Brommer. Ryan Butcher's got damage. Vince Almeriego, Johnny Gardner. Someone blew up here. Can't tell where the smoke's coming from. Is that Qualls in the 54? I think it is. I think James Qualls just had the engine let go as they were coming to pit lane. Seth Cole's got damage. Mitchell Collins. Jessica Shelton's got damage. Probably easier to name off the drivers that don't have damage than the drivers that do, as it looks like everybody took the opportunity to come to pit road here. Contact on pit road. I couldn't tell who it was between, but I heard it. As Casey Nanico is going to win the battle off pit road over Cole Baker. White Quail, Alexander Rowe, and looks like Cody Lamas will come out in the 5th spot. Somebody else is blowing up. Oh, that's Adam Garcia in the 12 car, the pole sitter, out of the race. Well, we got away with drivers not retiring after the first caution. I don't think that's going to be the case in this one. Camshaft issue, the mechanical failure on the 54, you can see right there. Casey Nanico is going to lead us under our second caution of the day. Let's see what happened. We're going to try and look from a different camera angle just so we can see where the follow-up wreck was. This is what initially caused the first wreck. Oh, Keith Batson was to the outside of Zach Rogers. I think Rogers thought he was clear, came up, and then Keith Batson just hooks him into the wall and nowhere for Matthew Rodriguez to go. And then further back there, you see, I was contact between Keith Batson and Trey Wright. And then, looks like Shelton tried to tuck up behind Benjamin Miles. Seth Cole was there. Oh, there's where Qualls got involved. That's why he blew up. He ran into the back of Mitchell Collins. There's Vince Almeriego involved. And just look how the track gets completely blockaded up. Jose Mills down to the inside wall. Look at LaPlante. Holy cow, that car went up in the air. And then comes down on top of Charles Sanford's car. Right down on his roof. Holy mackerel. There's Matt McIntyre. Ryan Brommer. William Brock got involved. There's Norman. Marcus Sachi. Dylan Young. I almost think it might have been Carter Friesen that slammed into the back of the 48. There's Ryan Acosta and Adam Garcia. Go back and see the hit there by LaPlante. See the smoke ahead? LaPlante trying to find a way through. Going to try and go down to the inside. He's the one that runs into the back of Jose Mills. And then watch right there. Oh, Carter Friesen. Oh, right into the back of him. Friesen got a punt from behind by Sebastian Kukulon. That's what directed his 37 into the back of LaPlante. And you see LaPlante up and into the air and landed literally on Charles Sanford's roof. I think Sanford had the wreck missed if LaPlante had not hit him. I think Charles would have been able to navigate his way through. And you saw those rear tires completely leave the ground for the 48 of Austin LaPlante. A hard shot from behind by Carter Friesen. Looks like these drivers are having some difficulty off turn 3. I don't know if it's just their judgment or the judgment of the spotters, but some drivers thinking they're clear and they're not, and that was what led to a good portion of this wreck down the front straightaway. We're going to have a lot of drivers in the garage area after this one, I do believe. Let's find out who they are now as we go back for the restart here at Pocono. So at this point in time, the drivers that are out of the race include James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, Ryan Acosta, Adam Garcia, and Carter Friesen. Probably the one that it's going to hurt the most out of these 5 is LaPlante. LaPlante came into this race the highest in the points, 8th overall in the standings without a victory, so if he had won today, he probably would be locked in the playoffs. Carter Friesen and Ryan Acosta, they were already locked in, and James Qualls, Adam Garcia both came into this race outside the top 30 in points, so they would have needed a little bit more help even if they did find victory lane here today. Rookie Casey Nanico continues to show the way, trying to become the second rookie to find victory lane this season. Alexander Rowe was the first at Pikes Peak earlier on this year. Cole Baker, looking for his second win of his Duracell Cup Series career, lines up second. Wyatt Quayle currently in third. Now Wyatt Quayle, former winner from Las Vegas this season, he is 38th in the points, a total of 51 points out of 30th in the standings. We know that Matthew Rodriguez, 30th in the points, has had an issue here today. So maybe Wyatt Quayle could do something if he could get a second win. Alexander Rowe right there in that 4th spot. A second win might lock him a spot up in the playoffs. And Cody Lamas currently lines up in 5th with Benjamin Miles, Kyle Matthews, Derek Hamill, Jordan Lopez, and Seth Cole. Your top 10 as the green flag is back in the air. Now we're going to have to see a lot of drivers back there through the field are damaged. We'll have to see if they're off the pace. 3 wide going for the lead here to turn 1. Wyatt Quayle makes the move. Look at Alexander Rowe. He's thinking about 4 wide, but thinks better of it. Backs out. They'll be 2 by 2 down the back straightaway. One thing I've noticed of the drivers that did not get involved, and the caution flag is out again, but a lot of rookies are still up here and up to speed. Alexander Rowe in the 24, Casey Nanico in the 77, Derek Hamill in the 31, Cody Lamas in the 84. So pretty good odds right now for a rookie to maybe find victory lane here today, as one of them will go to the race lead. Alexander Rowe just ahead of his Northeast Motorsports teammate Benjamin Miles. And my assumption is this wreck probably happened over in turn 1, because that caution came out very early. So 3rd time today we are under the yellow flag. Looks like it could have been Trey Wright in the 28 that may have brought out this one. Although there's a lot of candidates back here that are damaged and off the pace. Shelton, Sachi, Norman, Dollarton, so it could have been any one of them. With these cautions coming out, oh, there's the spin. You can see the spin there on the Long Pond straightaway. Skid marks and the smoke lingering. With these cautions coming out, it's making it very interesting as far as whether or not we will have a pit strategy race like we had last year. These drivers getting a lot of opportunities to come down pit road, top off the fuel tank under caution. But as Alexander Rowe leads the way, we've had a lot of rookies out in front so far in the first half of this race. Let's go back and see what brought out this latest yellow of the day. 4 wide back here at the very rear of the field. Trey Wright, Chris Dollarton, Marcus Sachi, Jessica Shelton. And there's the end of that story. Trey Wright, Dollarton, Sachi all spin around. Shelton gets some more damage on the boxy Chevrolet. Michael Norman says, thank you very much. I'll take a couple of those positions. Every spot right now on track, very important to that 18 car. Trey Wright, with a good run today, could have locked himself up a spot in the playoffs, and obviously that has not been going according to plan. And so a 4-wide situation here at Pocono with damaged cars is what brings out the caution. Just shows you how these drivers, regardless of whether they're up to speed or not, they are going to fight tooth and nail for every position possible, because every position is a point. And as we get down to the nitty-gritty closer to playoff time, it could be 1 point that's the difference between whether you're going to make the playoffs or not. Well, after the incident, we still only have 5 drivers back in the garage area that had retired after our second caution. And everybody took the opportunity here under this caution to come back down pit road. Alexander Rowe restarts ahead of Wyatt Quayle, Benjamin Miles, Cody Lamas, and Derek Hamill. Cole Baker lines up 6th. Jesse Turner up there in 7th, so the contact he got from the first wreck, apparently not that bad. He'll restart 7th over Kyle Matthews, Jordan Lopez, and Seth Cole. Right now, Kyle Matthews not exactly thrilled to see Alexander Rowe leading this race. But Jose Mills, Ryan Butcher, Jessica Shelton, Matthew Rodriguez, drivers that are ahead of him in the points coming to this race have had issues, so Kyle Matthews might be able to make up some ground here today. He just needs that 24 to to find some problems as Alexander Rowe gets us back underway. Look at them fan out here going into turn 1. They almost thought about 4 wide. Contact there between Cody Lamas and Benjamin Miles. Cody almost sent Benjamin Miles up into Wyatt Quill. He actually may have done. And that might have actually been why the 33 didn't spin, because the 41 was up there to help get him straight again. But Cody Lamas, remember, those two have some history. Lamas and Miles. Those two battled it out on the final lap of the Coke 600 at Charlotte. Benjamin Miles was on the winning end of that one. So Cody Lamas right now seems to be pretty desperate to get a victory. So desperate that he rattled the cage of a driver that passed him in the final 7/10 of a mile at Charlotte. Now Cole Baker, who's had one of the strongest cars of the day, he's been up front all day long. He's going to go for the race lead on Cody Lamas. Kyle Matthews there in the 09. We're talking about him points-wise, but think of what could happen if Kyle Matthews could pull off a second victory here today. That would certainly help his case, and he would not have to really worry then about the 24 of Alexander Rowe, because then he would leapfrog Alexander Rowe if he got into the top 30 in points. Speaking of a top 30 in points driver with 2 wins, look back there at Michael Norman, right now in the 35th position. The problem for Michael is that we've had 3 cautions, but only 5 drivers out of the race. Michael Norman needs to see more drivers back in the garage area, which would mean more positions for him to pick up on track, which would mean more points that he could build against 30th in the stands. Remember, he came into this one only 17 points ahead of the cut line. Some drivers he would need to worry about include William Brock, Charles Stanford, Alexander Rowe, and Matthew Rodriguez. Let's see where those drivers currently are. There's Matt Rod. He's running 29th. There's William Brock in 24th. Charles Sanford last scored in 22nd. And right now Alexander Rowe is up near the front in this lead pack. He is in the 7th spot. So you do the math, I guess. A lot of these situations, it's very difficult to do the math in one's head, because every lap, especially at a big track like this, positions are constantly changing. Kyle Matthews would certainly help his cause if he can lead a lap here, get himself a bonus point. He'll go to the inside of Cody Lamas, and he'll have the inside advantage going into turn 2. Benny Watson, you can see that damage there on the Hearst Toyota Camry, but apparently that has not affected him speed-wise. He's up here in this lead pack. Levi McIntyre up here as well, and Dylan Young. Dylan had quite a bit of rear-end damage from that second caution. I thought for sure he was probably going to be off the pace, but our Darlington winner, we may not have heard the last of him. Our New Hampshire winner, Levi McIntyre, right there as well in the 99. Almost 3 wide coming off turn number 3 there. That was close. Field is spread up into 3 packs. You got the drivers that are up to speed, then you got the drivers further back that are damaged and slightly off the pace, and then you got the drivers further back that are damaged and definitely off the pace. So we've got basically a battle of 3 groups right now. This lead group led by Cody Lamas and flanked by the 38 of Jordan Lopez. Baker and Lamas back at it again for the top position. You look here in this group of drivers that, definitely could benefit with a second win this season. Cole Baker there, our Daytona winner. Wyatt Quayle, our Las Vegas winner. Kyle Matthews, our Phoenix winner. Got Benjamin Miles, 2-time winner this season with wins at Charlotte and Kentucky. Alexander Rowe, our Pikes Peak winner. We already mentioned about Dylan Young, our Darlington winner. Last week's winner from Watkins Glen, Jesse Turner's up in this group. Levi McIntyre, New Hampshire winner. And also in this group, even though he's got some damage, is our Dover winner, Johnny Gardner back there. You can see the bright green Monster Energy scheme back there. So he's got a shot as well. Then you look at drivers up here that are still looking for their first wins of their career and of the season. You got Cody Lamas up here, Benny Watson, Derek Hamill, Casey Nanico, Sebastian Kukulon as well. I believe all of our rookies, with the exception of one, are up inside of this lead group. Lamas, Hamill, Nanico, Kukulan. Oh, maybe we're missing another one too. Marcus Sachi's not up here. Oh, Lamas is up here. Yeah, so 5 of our 6 rookies are up here, and I think the caution is out. It is. 4th time today that the caution flag is out, and the question is, did it happen in Group 2 or Group 3? Because it did not happen up here in Group 1. Who's going to lead us coming back to the yellow flag as we are now past the halfway point in this race? We'll probably get the restart with roughly about 20 laps to go when we do go back green. Baker going to outbreak Cody Lamas into turn 3. He'll take the top spot. Benny Watson going to battle with Lamas for second. They'll drag race that to the start-finish line. I think Lamas will probably get the run on the high side, though. Yeah, Watson doesn't even put up a fight. He'll slide into 3rd place behind Cody Lamas. There you see the skid marks out of turn 3. And I have an assumption this took place back in pack number 3. Because Group 1 still seemed to be pretty well assembled. Group 2 looked pretty good. So we'll see exactly who it was involved in this one. It looks like it might have actually involved last year's winner here from Pocono, Carson Gum. Matt McIntyre there as well, somewhat slow, so he may have been collected up in the incident, or he may have very well been the reason for the caution. So Cole Baker waits for the pace car to pick him up. No doubt we will see everybody back on pit road again here under this, our 4th caution of the day. So we'll come back, find out how the pit crews did. Can Cole Baker's crew get him back out in front? For now, let's go back and take a look at a replay. And it was group number 3. Contact's going to start right there. Well, is that contact or not? I couldn't tell if Dollarton got into the back of Matt McIntyre or not, or if the two of them just slid through the corner. Dollarton then comes down, gets into Carson Gum. That sends him up into Matt McIntyre. Right in front of Matthew Rodriguez. And with the 18 of Michael Norman coming into view there, oncoming traffic, NNSCRA officials, no choice but to throw the yellow flag. If Michael Norman had not been there, then maybe this might not have brought out a yellow because the leaders were quite a ways away from closing in on this. So we might have actually continued to be green, but because Michael Norman was coming at full speed, they had to throw the caution, so the yellow flag is out. And if we manage to go green to the end now, this could be very interesting because I'm not certain if they can make it 20 to 25 laps on one tank of fuel. This is a very big racetrack. And so we're going to have to wait and see if we manage to go green the rest of the way, if this race will indeed be a fuel strategy type race. Well, Cole Baker may treat his crew to a dinner tonight. His team got it done on pit road. He came in first, he left first. And he'll restart ahead of Cody Lamas, Benny Watson, Derek Hamill, and then Benjamin Miles. Your top 5, then it's Wyatt Quayle, Levi McIntyre, Casey Nanico, Dylan Young, and Alexander Rowe, your top 10. Working our 4th caution of the day, we do have another driver that has taken his car back behind the wall. The defending winner of this race, Carson Gum, has retired. We mentioned that he is one of, I believe it's 8 drivers that are locked into the playoffs regardless of what happens the remainder of this regular season, so obviously feeling no sense of going out there logging more laps. That's going to actually help Michael Norman, because that's another spot he'll pick up on track and another point he'll pick up as he continues to try to keep himself ahead of 30th in the point standings. And as things stand right now, between Johnny Gardner and Alexander Rowe battling for that final 16th playoff spot, Rowe restarts in 10th, Gardner in 14th. So right now, Johnny Gardner, I believe, would still hold that 16th playoff spot if a different driver does not go to victory lane here today. Going back green with 20 laps to go. And we'll see if these drivers can make it those final 20 laps on what they have in the tank. 3 wide for the lead into turn 1. Benny Watson's got thoughts for the spot. Couldn't quite get the run to the inside of Cody Lamas. He'll follow into 2nd place as Lamas will go to the lead. Jesse Turner squirrely off of turn 1 back there. keeps it straight, keeps it going, as now Benny Watson. Side by side with Cole Baker. 3 wide, maybe out of turn 2. Down the straightaway for turn 3. Nope. But Benjamin Miles now will go to the inside for second place on Benny Watson. Looks like Watson really good in the corners, but you see the buckle on his hood. That is definitely hindering his straightaway speed, one would have to think. This caution coming out, too, has brought a couple new faces up into this lead pack that might have been slowed up by traffic on the last restart. William Brock is now up in this lead group. Seth Cole. Charles Sanford looks like he might maybe be up to speed, along with Trey Wright, but now they're starting to lose some ground with the front pack. Jack Mitchell's up here in this group, though, and he was not up in the lead pack earlier. Oh, I don't like the look of this. I don't think we're done with cautions. It's going to be awfully tight out of turn 2. Ooh, they are 3 wide, almost 2 rows deep. It's really going to be tight coming off turn 3 if they remain in a 3-wide formation. Someone's got to give some room here. They got to settle it back out to double wide. Benjamin Miles tried to tuck up in front of Cody Lamas, and I don't know if Cody let him up or if Miles forced his way in, but somehow it worked. Get Cole Baker from the outside, swoops down to the inside line, shifting 3 lanes as Toyota drivers will battle for the lead. Nanico on the bottom. Topside, White Whale. This has been a really good race. A lot of passing for the lead. Great racing through the field despite our 4 cautions during the course of this race, but that's typical Pocono. And we may not yet have seen the last of the excitement, and the excitement continues next week when we go to Richmond. That one's going to be a wild one. Running under daytime conditions as well, not nighttime conditions. As now rookies side by side, Derek Hamill trying to get his first lap led of the day. And then we cap things off with our movie race in the regular season finale at Auto Club Speedway. And if you haven't checked out the official NNSCRA Paint Designs photo album on Facebook, then you're missing out, because a lot of paint schemes for that race have been shown off. And we've got some really cool looking ones that are going to be featured at Auto Club. Kyle Matthews up to second. Got kicked to the high side though. Baker's going to try and take the spot. Now last year, Carson Gum was driving a Toyota Camry for Backmarker Motorsports when he went to Victory Lane. Right now, leading this race is a Camry, and right now trying to move into the second position is a Backmarker Motorsports car, even though Backmarker Motorsports now is a Chevrolet Camaro team. 4 wide off of turn 1 for a brief moment. Jesse Turner thought about it. And that was close. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about with the 2019 rules package. Look at the run Cole Baker got down the straightaway. And Benny Watson's got his hands full. That car is jilting back and forth. He was trying to hang on to it down the Long Pond straightaway. He nearly lost it in the middle there of turn 2. Benny Watson is fighting inside that race car. Not only with his competition on track, but with the machine underneath his feet. Look at this. Levi McIntyre, first time today we mentioned him up towards the front. And look at the Ford Brigade on the bottom. Jesse Turner and Dylan Young down there with him as well. Levi breaking that winless streak back at New Hampshire. I actually looked back through our drivers to see who currently is still on the longest winless streak. And right now, of drivers that took part in last season that have yet to go to victory lane in either last season or this season, there are 5 of them in total. Jack Mitchell, Vince Almriego, Seth Cole, as well as Adam Garcia, and I'm trying to remember who the 5th one was. Charles Sanford, that was the 5th one. Those 5 drivers have taken part in both Season 1 and Season 2 and have yet to go to Victory Lane. A lot of drivers that took part last season in Season 1 but didn't find Victory Lane have managed to find Victory Lane this season, including drivers like Cole Baker and Michael Norman, the aforementioned Levi McIntyre. Benjamin Miles, Johnny Gardner, Matt Haas. You can add Matt McIntyre to that list as well. As Casey Nanico, the best battling has been going on for second place. That's been taking place behind him. As now Turner moves into second place. Let's see if Turner can shake third place and try and at least get up here and maybe battle Casey Nanico for the race lead. I mean, if Casey Nanico closes out this race with a victory, he's going to need a lot of help to get into the top 30 in points. He is 28 points back from 30th in standings coming into this one, and he may have bigger things to worry about because Cody Lamas, who crossed the line in 4th, was able to get a big enough run, and he just went from 4th to 1st in the matter of one corner. Strongest cars of the day undoubtedly have been that 11, 84, and 77. But it's all about position, and maybe it's all about fuel strategy as well as to which number driver is going to cross the line P1 when the checkered flag waves. We've managed to get into a long green flag run here. And we restarted, remember, with 20 laps to go. We have not been able to get a good, clear reading of just how far these drivers can go on one tank of fuel because we've been under 4 cautions in the first half of this race. So there's no doubt about it, if these drivers can't make it on fuel when they dive to pit road, it's going to be as much a surprise to me as it will be to you. The only people right now, I think, that know if we are going to see a green flag pit stop before the close of this race or not are those crew chiefs sitting down in those pit boxes. They're working the calculators, and they must have, by now, figured out if they can make it the rest of the way or not. 3 wide for the lead. Wyatt Quayle on the bottom. Alexander Rowe in the middle. Cody Lamas up topside. Cody might have brushed the wall there off of turn 2, trying to give some room on that outside line. He'll now slot back behind Alexander Rowe as Wyatt Quayle will go to the lead. And there you go. There's your answer. Coming to pit road. And this seems a little early. They're coming to pit road with about 11 laps to go, which, I don't know. We went back green with 20 to go. They've made it 9 laps before deciding to come to pit lane. I think this is a little early to be pitting. I don't know if they can make it the rest of the way now or not without having to come to pit road at least one more time. This group that stayed out, though, they're going to be hindered a little bit because Ryan Brommer just made a pit stop, and he came out ahead of these guys and slowed up their lap time. So that was not good timing for these 5 that did stay out. Cody Lamas, Alexander Rowe, Casey Nanico, Dylan Young, and Jesse Turner. I believe they're the only 5 that are left to pit as well. Yes, they are. Saw Jessica Shelton on pit road earlier. And there is Wyatt Quayle. He won the battle off pit road of the drivers that just came to pit lane. Now we'll have to see where he comes out in relation to the top 5 that hit pit road this lap. And I'm going to be very interested to see, is 9 laps the furthest they could go? 9 to 10 laps the furthest they could go? Because if that's the case, Wyatt Quayle might not be able to make it. He's going to hit 9 laps to go this time around, I do believe. It's going to be close. It's going to be really close. The field's going to be very spread out too as well. Because Wyatt Quayle, you look there, back behind him, it's a ways back before you get to Cole Baker and Levi McIntyre, then another ways back before you get to Sebastian Kukulon and Kyle Matthews. So maybe the draft will come into play and these guys can draft back up to each other, and we may have a number of drivers in the hunt for this win in the closing stages. But for right now, the field is very split apart. As you just saw right there, I believe that was an exchange for the race lead. Yes, it was. Wyatt Quayle taking the top spot away from Cody Lamas. It'll be this time around that it will be 9 laps to go when these two hit the line, and Cody Lamas, 1 lap fresher tires there than the 41. We'll see if that's going to play a factor, and as these two are battling each other, look at this. The draft definitely comes into play. Cole Baker and Levi McIntyre have reeled in the top 2. We now got 4 drivers up here competing for this race win. 3 of them former winners. Cody Lamas is the odd man out, still looking for his first career win on the season. Then further back, Kyle Matthews, Sebastian Kukulon trying to close in. Alexander Rowe, Dylan Young, Jesse Turner, they've still got a shot to get up here as well. Benjamin Miles, Johnny Gardner. I don't think this is over, especially if they continue to race 3 wide like this for the top position. That's going to allow 5th on back to close in much quicker. 1 Chevy, 2 Toyotas, 1 Ford, right now up in this lead pack. The gap from the leader, Cole Baker, back to Kyle Matthews last time was just under 2 seconds. And now there's a big pack here with Matthews, Rowe, Kukulon, Turner, and Young. So we'll see if they're producing enough speed to close in on these top 4. We'll see what the gap is this time. If it increases, then that's not good news for that second pack. If it decreases, then we could have as many as 9 drivers up here in the battle for the win before this race is over. 3 wide again there for the race lead. Gap back to 5th place. Stayed about the same. It was 1.96 last lap. Now it's 1.95. So they didn't gain, they didn't lose. It stayed status quo. Might have taken them a little bit of time to all merge together. Now that they're all merged together, maybe they'll be able to produce more speed here. I think they really need to stop battling with each other too. They're really battling up here with the top 4, so that's helping them. But if they battle amongst themselves from 5th place on back, that's going to hinder them as well. It's like nobody can hold the race lead. Baker's had a turn out in front. Wyatt Quayle's had a turn out in front. Now Cody Lamas out in front. The only driver that really hasn't made a charge to the front so far in this top 4 has been Levi McIntyre. He's been pretty content to ride in that 4th position. Gap back to 5th place this time. What is it? They gained 5 100ths. It's not going to be enough. They can't chip away by 5 100ths every lap if they're going to get up here. One thing they definitely need to do is get themselves maybe to within about a second behind. Then they might be able to latch on to the draft and be able to draft up to this group. But until they reach that precipice of about maybe 0.0 or 0.9, maybe 1 second back, it may look like it's going to come down between these 4. And I'm still very curious about the fact that drivers came to pit road only 9 laps into that green flag run. I don't know if that is the farthest they can go, and if we may see some of those drivers duck back onto pit road. Out of these 4, Cody Lamas made it the furthest. He went 1 extra lap. Baker, McIntyre, and Wyatt Quayle all came together back on lap 40. That time, the gap actually increased back to 5th place. So as they battle amongst themselves for 5th, looks like they are, in essence, taking themselves out of the running for this victory. Just think of what a victory for these 4 would do. Cole Baker comes into this race in the 17th position in points. A second win would lock him up a spot in the playoffs. Levi McIntyre, 22nd in points. A second win would lock him up a confirmed spot in the playoffs. Wyatt Quayle documented his hardships during the course of this season. He still has a mathematic chance to maybe get into the playoffs, and a second win could help him. He is 38th in points, 51 points from 30th in the standings. A second win could help him make the playoff standings, and Cody Lamas coming into this race, the 3rd highest in the standings without a victory, 12th in points, no doubt about it. A win would lock himself up a spot in the playoffs as a rookie, but there's still a long ways to go in this one. We just took and hit the line for 5 laps to go. There is still a lot that can happen here in these 5 laps, including the question of whether these drivers can make it on fuel. I don't know if the fuel window opened when these drivers came to pit road for them to be able to make it the rest of the way, and so that's why they pitted, or if that was indeed the furthest they could go. Kind of left in the dark here up in the commentary booth and just waiting to see how it all unfolds as Cole Baker, Daytona 500 winner, back to the lead. Battle for second between a couple of Camrys. I don't think you can side draft here, but they certainly tried to. Interval back to 4th place. Again, opened up by another 10th. So these drivers back here, they're basically throwing up the white flag of surrender into battling for the race lead. They're now basically battling to see who's going to finish in the 5th position. And you got Kyle Matthews, Alexander Rowe, both in this battle right here. And remember, those 2 are coming into this race both in rather interesting positions. Alexander Rowe, 29th in the standings, 2 points ahead of the cut line. Kyle Matthews, 34th in the standings, 14 points behind the cut line. And then you got Johnny Gardner back here, who came into this race in the 16th position of the playoff standings as they are right now. Tell you the driver he does not want to see win right now, and that is Cody Lamas, because then Lamas would be in and Gardner would be out. So right now he is Cole Baker, Levi McIntyre, and Wyatt Quayle's biggest fans. Actually, I don't know if he really wants to see Wyatt Quayle go to victory lane either. Maybe his teammate, but if Wyatt Quayle gets back in the top 30 in points with 2 wins, then he would leapfrog over Johnny Gardner, who only has 1 win. So I think he'd rather see McIntyre or Baker go to victory lane out of these four to keep his playoff hopes alive. I think it's really all going to come down to positioning as well amongst these top four. Where do you want to be on the white flag lap? Do you want to be leading? Do you want to be second? Do you want to be third, or do you want to be fourth? Levi McIntyre, I think Levi could be saving fuel. This is the first time he's making it a challenge to get into the podium. He's been riding fourth of these four drivers for a good portion of these laps. He might have been saving tires, maybe saving fuel. I think now he thinks it's go time, as there's 2 laps to go here at Pocono. No friends on the top side there for Wyatt Quayle. Baker will go to the lead. Lamas into second, possibly. Quayle going to try and battle back on the top side, and Levi McIntyre is going to move up there and help the 41. Now Cody drives it in deep into turn 2, trying to clear the 41. He will succeed in doing so. Now sets his sights on Cole Baker. These two have had the strongest cars of the day besides Casey Nanico, and it may come down between these two for the race win. Single file amongst the top 4. Baker, Lamas, Quayle, and McIntyre. The white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. We will race back to the checkers no matter what. Lamas looks low for the lead. Wyatt Quayle thinking about 3 wide. Will he stick his nose in there and not lift? He's there. Baker up way on the top side. He'll lose the lead. Lamas might have them all cleared for the top spot here off of turn 1. Wyatt Quayle's there though. Wyatt Quayle going to make the move down here into turn 2. He's not really close enough yet. Does Lamas open the door? Nope. He moves down and blocks Wyatt Quayle's advances. 1 straightaway left to go here before turn 3. Lamas leads the way. Here comes Wyatt Quayle. Here comes Levi McIntyre. Does anybody have anything for the Cinnabon Toyota Camry? Off turn 4 with about a car length and a half in hand. Cody Lamas finally gets it done. Redemption for Charlotte. He wins today at Pocono Raceway. His first career win in his 24th career Duracell Cup Series start. He's the second rookie to go to victory lane this season. He is the 3rd Michael Norman Motorsports driver to win this year. That's their 4th win in Season 2 as a team. And with that, Cody Lamas becomes the first rookie that is confirmed locked into this season's playoffs. Well, Cody lost the Coke 600 on a last lap pass. Benjamin Miles taking that win away from him. Well, he pulled off a last lap pass of his own here today at the Tricky Triangle to capture the victory. And Cody Lamas, the rookie points leader, will continue to grow his points lead. And not only that, as mentioned, he came into this race 12th in points. This will undoubtedly move into the top 10, and with a victory, he joins Friesen, Miles, Acosta, Lopez, McIntyre, Brommer, Gum, and Rogers in a locked-in position in the playoffs. A couple other drivers I see that might have locked themselves up playoff spots. Cole Baker, who finished in 4th, and Jesse Turner, who finished in 8th. Standings should be official, so they did make it on fuel. So I guess when they came to pit road, the fuel window opened for them to be able to make it the rest of the way. That was not the furthest they could go. So that, at least we had a decent finish here at the end with drivers not running out of fuel. Although that would have obviously made for a very exciting race also. So with Cody Lamas taking the victory, he's now locked into the playoffs. It's a Toyota 1-2 finish with Wyatt Quayle in second. Wyatt Quayle, I don't know how many points he's going to gain with this runner-up finish. Don't know if he's going to be close enough to maybe have a shot to get back in the top 30 in points or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Levi McIntyre, a great run for him. Levi definitely needed this run. He was 22nd in points coming into this race, so this will get him higher up in the point stance. I don't know if he's necessarily locked himself up a spot in the playoffs yet, but I think at this point in time, with a decent run next week at Richmond, he definitely would lock himself up a spot then. So he definitely helped his cause. Cole Baker, like I said, he came into this race in the 17th position in points, and with a 4th place run, he may have just locked himself up a spot in the playoffs. Kyle Matthews, great run for him there in 5th. We'll have to see where he's positioned because Alexander Rowe only finished 2 spots behind him in 6th. So we'll see if Kyle Matthews is back in the top 30 in points or not. We'll have to see where he is in relation to other drivers as well, based on their points position. Matthews in 5th, Rowe in 6th. Then Miles brings it home in 7th. A great run there for the 33 car. Benjamin Miles came into this race 33 points behind Carter Friesen for the overall points lead. And Friesen finished out of this race. So did Miles maybe take the points lead back over from Carter Friesen? We'll have to wait and see about that. Jesse Turner, an 8th place run for a driver that won last week at the Glen, moved up to 14th in points. This will probably, I think, move him into the top 10 in points as well. So I think he, as well as Cole Baker and Cody Lamas, may have all locked themselves up playoff spots here today. Rest of your top 10, Johnny Gardner, well-needed run of 9th. That'll at least keep him ahead of Alexander Rowe. But with Cody Lamas winning, that's another different driver ahead of him in points that went to victory lane. So now Johnny Gardner's got to set his sights on drivers such as Matt Haas, Trey Wright, drivers that struggled here today to try and pass them, so that way his win will count towards a playoff spot. It's going to be very interesting points-wise heading to Richmond, no doubt about that. And Sebastian Kukulon is going to finish out the day in the 10th position. Dylan Young, we just mentioned him. He's going to be finishing the day out in 11th place. He came into this one 15th in points. I don't know, did he lock himself a playoff spot with that finish? We'll have to wait and see. Jordan Lopez in 12th. Casey Nanico, who was up front in the early portions of this race, led a good portion of the laps. I think he may have led the most laps today. He'll finish 13th. Benny Watson in 14th. Trey Wright, despite his damage, still managed a 15th position. The rest of the top 20 were Jack Mitchell, Charles Sanford, Derek Hamill, Keith Batson, and Ryan Butcher. Look on down through the remainder of the finishing results here, and it looked like maybe the battle that'll go on next week might be between Johnny Gardner and Matt Haas for that 16th and final playoff spot as things stand right now. Jose Mills, 27th, where he's going to finish. So right now, Jose Mills, his chances of making the playoffs continue to look slimmer and slimmer as he still cannot make his way into the top 30 in points. Michael Norman's going to be an interesting one because he finishes 32nd. Now remember, he came into this race with only 17 points to spare between himself and 30th in the stands, and we've had good runs by Alexander Rowe, Kyle Matthews, and Johnny Gardner today. So Michael Norman, two-time winner, could find himself into a bit of a hairy situation heading into Richmond. Some drivers running well in points that were locked into the playoffs coming into this one did not get the runs they were looking for, but obviously they know that they will make it into the playoffs regardless. You've got Zach Rogers there, Matt McIntyre, Carson Gum. They all struggled during the course of this race. Same for Ryan Acosta and the guy who came in the points leader, Carter Friesen. They DNF'd. So, obviously a weight off their shoulders knowing that this DNF and these poor performances are not going to eliminate them from the playoffs. But obviously going into the playoffs, you want to have good positive momentum as well. 6 drivers finished this race behind the wall. Carson Gum, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, Ryan Acosta, Adam Garcia, who started this race from the pole, and Carter Friesen, who came into this race as the overall points leader. Will he still be the points leader heading to Richmond? Only time will tell. Benjamin Miles might have wrestled it away from him here today. But Cody Lamas becomes the 21st different driver to go to victory lane this season, and he locked himself up a spot in the playoffs with this victory here today at Pocono. Toyota, they're 2 for 2 in winning here at Pocono as well. Carson Gum was in a Camry last year when he took the checkered flag on fuel strategy. But next week, short tracks, short tempers, and short time for drivers to make moves to get into the playoffs as we will head to Richmond International Raceway for our 25th race of the season. It's our next to last race of the regular season before we set the official 16-driver playoff grid. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from Pocono. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finished results. These are what your point standings look like heading into next week. My assumption is it's going to be very, very congested for those final few playoff positions, and the playoff scenarios, I think, are going to be more and more heading into both Richmond and Auto Club. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.